Today on the Tom Kelly Show, we reflect upon the life of Matthew Perry, known best as Chandler from Friends. He died this weekend at the age of being 7 years older than whatever I am now, 52. There you go. And if you're just learning that he passed away from listening to this podcast, well, my friends, you have been living in a cave, and we have a lot to talk about. Let's start the show. So no one told you life was gonna be this way. Your job's a joke, you're broke, your love's life's DOA. Feels like you're always stuck in second gear, when it hasn't been your day, your week, your month, or even your year. But I'll be there for you. And that's about all I know of that great Remnants song. And I'm singing it because I don't want YouTube to shut me down for a copyright warning. But content warning, spoiler alert, I will be there for you. You are experiencing the Tom Kelly Show. I am intentionally not doing a melancholy edition of the show. In fact, I've been lazy about doing a show. I actually have pre-recorded tonight's show. It's a field show recorded at the LOL Comedy Club. It should be a good one, and it should be released this Wednesday. I also have a show written on paper or written on the laptop, proverbial paper, about all the great things that have been going on in my life, and maybe a few of the disappointments and a few of the news topics, and honestly a lot about Taylor Swift, because the one thing I'm learning from my radio work is if you want to get guaranteed engagement from your audience, talk about Taylor Swift and Travis Kelce and what could throw them off the top of the engagement chart. Matthew Perry, best known as Chandler Bing from Friends, died this weekend while swimming in a swimming pool and shortly after posting on Instagram. I don't know if any of that stuff is relevant. I don't know if any of the stuff makes it more or less tragic. I mean, the guy had everything I could potentially want in life in his teens and 20s. Everyone talks about him as Chandler from Friends, but he was on like a billion other shows in the 1980s. Actually, I should pull up the Matthew Perry IMDb. You would see him. He was just a guy who always popped up on television until he wound up on Friends. And remember, when Friends first started, that was like, the six of them were all people who've done like a little something before. Just a little something. I'm looking at like some of his work. This is all the modern stuff. I mean, 17 again, known for Studio 60 on the Sunset Strip, see all for actor. Friends, the whole 9 yards, the whole 10 yards, appearances on Caroline in a City, Fools Rushed In. I'm looking for the really young stuff. Growing Pains. He was on Growing Pains. Silver Spoons. He was on Charles in Charge. He was just one of the, he was in the rotation of, actors and actresses. He was on, I'm just going to say the names of these shows. These are names of shows that I have not thought of in years. When you talk about this guy, basically was, if not a child actor, a teen actor, Just the 10 of Us. Gee, that was Friday nights, man. Friday nights, credited as Matthew L. Perry. He was on Empty Nest, Growing Pains, Highway to Heaven. Who's the Boss? I do not remember him being on Beverly Hills 90210, but apparently he did an episode in 1991. Dream On, a few shows I don't think any of us remember. Deadly Relations, The John Larroquette Show, Parallel Lives, Caroline in a City, said that one already. 3 to Tango is a movie, but you get what I'm saying, people. The guy had been around, and and of course, Chandler Bing on Friends. I have no jokes about his passing. I didn't know him, so I'm not emotionally attached to him. But I remember when I was an NBC page, the woman in charge of scheduling the tour guides was a woman named Tina Pietrantuono. And it took me like 6 months to learn how to pronounce that last name, so I love saying it now. Pietrantuono. Say it with me, people. Pietrantuono. Tina had some sort of a picture of her on a sofa with Matthew Perry, and I forget the story, but somehow Matthew Perry wound up hanging out in her apartment. And we could talk about, I don't want to get too into the sad parts of Matthew Perry's life. He is associated with addiction, and when you're somebody like me, by the way, I'm Tom Kelly. This is the podcast about me fixing up my life. I'm a stand-up comedian who has had career successes and has had career failures, and frankly, none of my successes live up to being Chandler Bing on Friends. I'm so not Chandler Bing from Friends. That's sort of a Chandler-y quote, right? But you get what I'm saying, people. Yeah. So anyway, he struggled with addiction, and I think that it's very easy if you're somebody who struggles for something more in life. It's easy to get mad at somebody who has something more in life, and yet their holes were not filled. You just think, hey, they're ungrateful. What are you doing cocaine for, buddy? You got the acting job and all the good-looking women and this and that. But it's a very interesting thing. And, that despite him having more to fill his holes were not filled. And I don't want to try to wrap my brain around someone else's addiction, but yes, other people's addiction does irritate me. And I know I am incredibly self-centered when I say that. But I think it's also something to be said about, one, I don't like the way we grieved this particular celebrity passing. It was just sort of morbid. Like I'm trying to think of a good celebrity who has died lately. Like Jimmy Buffett. I think I wrote a nice piece. Actually, I did a whole nice podcast on him too, but where I talked about how he loved Weeki Wachee Springs, and I forget if I talked about how great the Long Island tailgates were, or what his music meant to me. This is a man who created, again, one of 6 cast members, and, not one of the writers, not one of the directors, blah, 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 but he was part of a team that created work that is still resonating today. My nieces, Allison and Ava, they were in high school and watching Friends again. Like as if it were for the first time. They were watching it on Netflix. It's a show that still resonates. And, when you get into why are we sad about Michael Perry? First of all, Michael Perry, I'm very sad about him. There's a man you've never heard of. No, but why are we sad about Matthew Perry? First, the show mattered. 2, the show represented the American dream of moving to New York, living in a nice apartment, living around good-looking people who were also struggling and helping to figure life out. And, and again, there's a few comedians I know, including Sherry Shepherd, who also pointed out, how come none of the friends had a black friend? But put that aside. Matthew Perry didn't cast a damn show. But Chandler Bing, he was the character that I think more people identified than not. I think it was okay to identify with Chandler. If you identified with being Joey, honestly, if you identify with being the good-looking guy on a TV show, you're a douche. But with Chandler, I feel like if you did not think you were Chandler, who had the, like a little witty remark for everything that you say, if you didn't have a witty remark, if you weren't that person, you had a friend who was that person. Like I was thinking of my my high school friend group. For sure, my friend Adam Zajac, we always said he was Ross. I mean, he had the thick head of hair. a little bit mopey. He had the David Schwimmer vibe. My friend Josh is, the funny one, and I say that begrudgingly. But there was always just something smart and zingy ready to come out of his mouth. And I was going somewhere with this. So I think we all, if we're not sad about Matthew Perry dying, we are sad about Chandler Bing dying. There will never be a real Friends reunion. My friend Dan Stanton just texted me in our little high school group text. He said, gosh, I saw that Friends reunion on HBO, which I tried to watch and fell asleep during. He pointed out that... Matthew Perry didn't look too healthy. He not only did he struggle with addiction, but then the guy kept having health issues that probably put you on a path to needing pain pills and other pain management and whatnot. The man tried to help other people when he was coming out of addiction. At one point, he converted his multi-million-dollar Malibu home into a halfway house for, men struggling with sobriety. That was some sort of a business, and he wound up selling the house for a whole lot of money. I don't know if he ever went back into the business again. I've been Googling Perry House for a little bit of about more than an hour and couldn't find it. Okay, I didn't put an hour work in, but I put some work into it. But and I think we mourn. When if we're not mourning the death of Matthew Perry, I know for sure Warner Brothers, which owns the rights to Friends, is mourning the death of an intellectual property, Friends. And I think I'm genuinely mourning this for real. Every couple of years they tease you with the idea of there being a Friends made for TV me. I am stuttering like a madman. I need to get back into podcasting just to stutter less. But there would always be that tease in the trades. Will the cast of Friends get back together for a TV movie special or a one-part only episode? And the one that was often teased was they would all go to Monica and Chandler's house for a Thanksgiving episode. I really would be depressed if they do what they did on the Sex and the City reboot, where they get this isn't a spoiler, but they kill Mr. Big in the first episode of Sex and the City's reboot just like that. And I really don't want to see a Friends reboot like that. But I was always craving, the gang going for a Friendsgiving in Connecticut, which is sort of something that, Friends do. When you're in your 20s, you do it in a small apartment. And then, there's nothing like going to the Friendsgiving in a real house. My friend Justin and his wife Carrie, they still throw Friendsgiving on whatever weekend I am not available in November, every November. And and then they, they have the nice dinner for the friends. But now it's in the suburbs. It's not in the city. It's in the suburbs. It's Friendsgiving. Yay. I was always dreaming of a Friends movie. I had in fact, I'm going to write my Friends fan fiction, and the title is going to be the one where they wound up buying condos next to each other in the retirement community. The simpler title would be the one where they all buy condos in the villages, where they all wind up in the same senior center. And you make jokes, but I wouldn't have ruled that out, back in the day. At some point, I feel like Matthew Perry and Lisa Kudrow could have used the extra cash. What do I know? And again, I found the way we mourned his death this weekend dark. Everybody was everyone was acting like they were CNN reporting the goddamn story, and it wasn't just, oh, here's a fun Chandler clip. It was like the black ABC News photo, Matthew Perry, 1969 to 2023. Gee, thanks. And it's funny, my horoscope on Friday said, try not to do too much this weekend because you're going to be depressed. And Friday and Saturday, I was like in a great mood. I'm like, why am I mean, I still had an undercurrent of depression, but if I wasn't depressed before, it was every time I open a social media app, it's a reminder that Matthew Perry's dead and everybody's grieving like it's their dad. And the reality is, I don't mind you grieving the man, but let's celebrate some joy about his work. You know? Like what are some Matthew Perry quotes here? Or I'm sorry, Matthew Perry as Chandler Bing quotes. Could I be any more? And then you insert something there. That's your way to sound Chandler-ish. But some of the good quotes are, hi, I'm Chandler. I make jokes when I'm uncomfortable. That's a Tom Kelly thing if I'm not, that's so me. Chandler Bing quotes, here we go. Up until I was 25, I thought the response to I love you was, oh crap. I say more dumb things before 9 a.m. than most people say all day. I'm glad we're having a rehearsal dinner. I rarely practice my meals before I eat. And then this is from businessinsider.com. Perry told Good Morning America in 2017 that his favorite line from the 200 plus episodes of Friends was in response to a typically stupid ramble from Joey. Chandler then quips, okay, you have to stop the Q-tip when there's resistance. But I'll tell you one thing. And again, when celebrities or anybody dies, we project ourselves into the tragedy, don't we? What would Matthew Perry like to be remembered for? I saw this on TikTok. I do not know if this is an accurate quote, but it's beautiful, and I am going to share it anyway. I've had a lot of ups and downs in my life. I'm still working through it personally. But the best thing about me is that if an alcoholic or drug addict comes up to me and says, will you help me? I will always say, yes, I know how to do that. I will do that for you, even if I can't always do it for myself. So I do that whenever I can, in groups or one-on-one. And I created Perry House in Malibu, a sober living facility for men. I also wrote my play, The End of Longing, which is a personal message to the world, an exaggerated form of me as a drunk. I had something important to say to people like me and to people who love people like me. When I die, I know people will talk about friends. And I'm glad of that. Happy I've done some solid work as an actor, as well as given people multiple chances to make fun of my struggles on the World Wide Web. But when I die, as far as my so-called accomplishments go, it would be nice if friends were listed far behind the things I did to try to help other people. I know it won't happen, but it would be nice. And there you go. I don't know the guy. Sad I won't know the guy. As with all these celebrity death stories, it's Tom Kelly inserting himself in and trying to make himself depressed, and I challenge you not to. I challenge you to go put in a best of Matthew Perry clip or a best of Chandler Bing clip on YouTube. And yeah, go have a laugh. So listen, folks, I will be there for you. New podcasts every Monday and Wednesday. I'm figuring things out. I'm trying to get off my ass. I'm trying to get out of my own depression, and also in a positive way, actually. I'm trying to figure out what's working for us people. And the nice thing about these death shows is I learn quickly that single topics do work well on YouTube and as a podcast. So show love where love can be shown. Good night, New York.